Welcome back to Session 0, where I talk about Dungeon World every Wednesday. My next 3 or 4 videos will be Halloween themed. Stay a while and listen as I start by talking about the vampire. Vampires are classic Halloween monsters with a huge amount of variance in gaming. I looked at my normal sources for monster talk, but also turned to the Magic the Gathering database, which has 239 unique vampires with some type of flavor text. The flavor text gives you so many ideas for narrative, and the artwork is a priceless source of visual description. I've linked the search criteria I used in the description below, and I highly recommend taking some time to look through these cards for ideas of your own. Let's move on to the stat block. Here's the vampire found on page 262 of the Dungeon World rulebook. I do like some of it, but as usual, I'll make some changes. Before I do though, I want to point out that while Dungeon World only uses one type of vampire, most of the sources list a vampire and a vampire spawn. But D&D 3.5 lists 3 vampires, an elite or lord vampire, a vampire, and a vampire spawn. The mid-level vampire is what I'm going for in this build, but I'll also present the vampire lord and vampire spawn at the end. I think 10 HP is low, so I gave mine 14, which is a conversion of the D&D 5e vampire spawn. You can see how I convert monsters from 5e in this video here, and I've linked it in the description below too. I kept the 2 armor, but you can augment this with specific armor or magic. I gave my vampire serrated daggers because they're more narratively interesting, which I'll talk about shortly, and have a mechanical benefit because of the messy tag. This lets you tell them the requirements or consequences and ask. You're bleeding pretty badly, you can go ahead and make that attack, but if you do, you'll take 1d4 damage from blood loss. Is that what you want to do? If they say yes, deal some damage. This can also be a way to use up their resources, as they expend healing potions, bandages, or poultices and herbs to staunch the bleeding. Finally, it can put someone in a spot. Do you stop to bandage up your friend who's about to bleed out, or continue fighting? I'm going to keep the same tags that Dungeon World uses for my vampire and add one more. These vampires travel in groups, which can help separate the party. They're stealthy, which can reveal an unwelcome truth. This alley isn't empty, you are being stalked. You should also be thinking about location design and moves. Give the vampires places from which to launch a surprise attack. This is also going to synergize with one of my moves. They're organized, so they'll work together and one of them might be on the lookout for others. This is a great way to turn their move back on them. The party may be on the lookout for enemies, and the vampires are on the lookout for fresh blood. Finally, they're intelligent, so you can give them class tags if you want to. I'm going to give these vampires the fighter tag, as I imagine they're quite good at fighting with their serrated daggers. I'm going to change both of the special qualities. Changing form can be given to a vampire with the druid tag, and I'm going to replace the ancient mind with my ancient quality for my vampire lord. I've given my vampire death by sunlight, which will synergize with my useful information, and undead. Vampire is in the Legions of the Undead monster setting, but it isn't otherwise noted as being an undead monster, so this is more or less just a reminder. Don't forget that clerics can turn undead, so throwing vampires into a scene with clerics will give them an opportunity that fits their class. For interesting lore, I gave my vampire the following. Vampires stalk the night and drink blood to survive. Some say garlic keeps them at bay, and they can't enter your home unless invited. These are fairy tales meant to help you sleep better at night. It's some interesting lore, but it also serves to show signs of approach. If you enter a village in which everyone has garlic hanging from doors and windows, it's a good bet there are vampires around. For useful, I gave it, sunlight is a sure way to kill a vampire. It's also rumored that there's a potion crafted to the south which makes your blood poisonous to vampires. This lets the players learn of the death by sunlight special quality. It can also give an opportunity to a thief who may want to learn this very specific poison, and provides an opportunity with a cost. They can track down this potion at the cost of losing time, which may cause dangers to pop. For the instinct, I'm going to reserve to manipulate for the vampire lord. My mid-level vampire has the instinct to hide their secret. This gives a lot of narrative range, and can give you vampires living amongst non-vampires, with the latter none the wiser. Those dockhands which only work the night shift may be vampires. That reclusive widow who only comes out when it's overcast and gloomy could be one too. My first move is drink their blood to regenerate. Vampires traditionally drink blood from a vein, but I gave mine the serrated daggers because they're going to create copious bleeding. If a character see a vampire lick their blood off the flat of its blade and then notice the vampire's wounds closing, that is an unwelcome truth. Next is climb on walls and ceilings like a spider. Make this look creepy and feral for added scare factor. It provides you with an excellent way to show a downside to any class, race, or equipment that can't attack at range or fly. This is the move that synergizes with stealthy. If the characters are walking under a bridge or overpass, a vampire waiting to leap down from its underside would surely be a surprise. My third move is summon bats and spiders. Now, you could have your vampire summon anything you want. The sources lean heavily into bats, rats, and wolves. But I like spiders because it synergizes with spider climb, and hairy, crawly spiders are creepier than wolves, at least to me. The final move is a slightly reworded version of one from Dungeon World, retreat to make plans. They're organized and intelligent, so they won't fight to the death. They'll retreat into the night and come at the characters when they're least expecting it. That's the mid-level vampire, so let's look at the vampire spawn. These have fewer hit points and are more feral, ripping at you with sharp claw-like hands. They also lose the stealthy and organized tags, primarily because their instinct is to satiate their thirst. The spawns also don't have the ability, or maybe the knowledge, to summon bats or spiders. And when they retreat, it's a survival instinct. They're not coming back later. The Vampire Lord, however, is an entirely different beast. It has more HP and armor, some of which probably comes from the items it carries. It's solitary, cautious, and devious, and has the fighter, druid, and wizard tags, meaning it has access to everything those classes can do. It's also ancient and legendary, which I discussed in my Lich video, which I've linked here and in the description. It has specific lore, and its instinct definitely is to manipulate. Its wizard tag covers summoning, so I replaced that move with create and command vampire spawn. Finally, it doesn't retreat. It only makes you think it has retreated. Alright, that's it for the vampire. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like my content, please like the video, subscribe, and smash the bell icon to get notifications for new videos. Thanks for watching, and I hope you come back next week for Monster Talk Ghost. Have a great day.